Now, there are two different ways of defining the investment property. One is our own property, or we might have taken based on a lease. After the introduction of IFRS 16, the new scenario came in, or what you call this right of use asset. We will not discuss that now. I don't want to complicate at this point of time. Here, either you are the purely a freehold owner, or you are a lessee who has taken up a finance lease, and then you have a property in your hand. What's your purpose? Purpose is for capital appreciation or for rental income. To earn rentals or for capital appreciation or for both. Or rather than, it's not for these two purposes. Using the production or supply of goods or services or for administrative purposes. This is definition of property, plant and IAS 16. And the second one, sale in the ordinary course of business, that is definition of inventory, IAS 2. So, investment property considered for that purpose and not for these two purposes. IAS 16 and IAS 2. What is owner occupied property? Is a property held by the owner or by the lessee under finance lease for use in the production or supply of goods or for services or for administrative purposes. Mainly administration. What happens is the owner brings one Nathur and then asks him to sleep in the ground floor in one small room, and then he goes every house and knocks the door and then asks for the rent. This is what happens, right? So that particular portion you cannot consider as investment property. That has to be booked in your property, plant and equipment, and then you should follow the normal accounting treatment as described in IAS 16. Now, carrying amount. Many times we discuss carrying amount, cost or revalued amount minus accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment losses. Fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. This is the new definition according to IFRS. Can someone complete? 13. See, it is very sharp. So, impairment is a falling developable asset, that is recoverable amount. Recoverable amount less than its carrying amount. So we discussed that impairment now. So now that you are having a good understanding as to what is impairment. Impairment is when recoverable amount is less than carrying amount. Then the difference between carrying amount and the recoverable amount is said to be impairment. Classification of property as investment property or owner-occupied property. Land held for long-term capital than short-term sale in the ordinary course of business. Sometimes you are a real estate business person and you buy and sell land. If you are buying and selling land, you cannot consider that as investment property. You have to treat that as inventory.
See, this is a very important point. Listen again carefully what he is saying. Sometimes the building cannot be inventory, it's fixed asset. That's normal thing. Building also can be as inventory. If you are a real estate company, you are buying and selling building or land, then that building and land defined as inventory, not fixed assets. Right? So building or land can be also inventory. Some people say, no, it's not inventory. So it can be inventory if your CR says that your property is a trading company and land and this one, it's inventory.
Clear? Yeah. Land held for a currently undetermined future use. Undetermined future use. You have a land. Okay. That land held for we don't know what is the future use of this. Still the management has not come to a conclusion as to what could be the use of this land. So, that is also another question to decide whether this land is an investment property or an owner-occupied property. Third one, a building owned by the entity or by the lessee and leased out under one or more operating leases. That is rental income. When you leasing out under operating leases, under the old IA 17, under previous now, the new IFRS 16 says there is no operating lease or finance lease. There is short-term lease and long-term lease. Short-term lease is a lease that is given for a period less than 12 months. Long-term lease, any lease that is taken place for a period exceeding 12 months. So, then building that is vacant but is held to be leased out under one or more operating lease. So, these we will decide based on these criteria whether this is a investment property or owner-occupied property. Property that is being constructed or developed for future use as investment property. So, you are putting up a building and your decision or your thinking is to have an investment property. Examples of items that are not investment property. Property intended for sale in the ordinary course of business or in the process of construction or development for such sale. IAS 2. This is inventory. Owner-occupied property. IAS 16. Property that is leased to another entity under a finance lease. See, now we in the previous examples we are talking from the lessee's point of view. Now this one from the lessor's point of view. So you cannot recognize that as an investment property. An investment property shall recognize as and when as an asset when and only when the same definition of IA 16. It is probable that the future economic benefits that are associated with the investment property will flow to the entity, and you could measure the cost reliably. So these two terms you should make sure that particular assets, the existence of that asset should ensure it brings you economic benefits in the future. In the cost, there's no vague, there's no doubt, there's no dubious scenario, there's no grey area. Precisely I know 1,285,000 dot. Then only you recognize that particular asset as an investment property. An investment property shall be measured at cost, of course. Transaction cost shall be included in the initial measure. What are transaction costs? You know, when you have to write up a deed, you got to pay a legal fee, stamp duty, and so on.